Board. I'm also a visual artist, and I am the gallery director at Roundtree Gallery in Platteville. And I'm just going to go around the screen as you're on my screen in no particular order. So, Jim, would you go next?
Thank you, Bill. My name is Jim O'Connell. I teach
Artist.
arts management at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, and that was after a 40. I've been doing that I'm in my 11th year now, and that was after a 47-year career managing performing arts buildings.
Thank you. Contessa?
Hello, I'm Contessa Lobley, Executive Director and founder of T-Bay Art Center in Milwaukee, and we're celebrating 25 years next year.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you. And Pat?
My name is Pat Gutenberg, and I'm a retired executive director of a performing arts organization. Spent many years interested in the arts. I'm still writing grants for nonprofits, so I keep my finger in things, and I very much look forward to this.
Great. Thank you.
And staff-wise, I'll jump in, Bill. I'm Karen Geschko. I'm the assistant director here at the Wisconsin Arts Board. In fact, you have the entire Wisconsin Arts Board staff on the screen right now. Dale, would you mind going next?
Yeah, Dale Johnson, Grants and Information Specialist here at the Arts Board. I'll be keeping track of your scores in the background today.
And Caitlin.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Caitlin Burrell. I'm the Folk and Traditional Arts Coordinator at the Arts Board, and I'm also just kind of helping in the background today if needed. Hopefully not, though.
And George, would you do the honors?
And George Sugros, Director of the Arts Board, and here to say in the spirit of the season, thank you. We're so grateful to all of you for taking this on. This is not your first rodeo. None of you are new to this, and you still said yes, and we appreciate that. You are, as you know, the constructive insights that you bring to this will be valued by the people who receive it, and may make a significant change to their organizations in a positive way. So this is all good. You're in great hands with the staff, and Bill, again, not his first rodeo either. So you got a great panel chair and to lead the way. So good luck today. I'm jumping off and getting back to the arts news. So
I bet you have it live streaming in the background, though.
Yes, you betcha.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George.
Here.
Hey, George.
All right, Bill, shall we start with the script with which we orient all panels so everyone is consistently informed of our process, etc.?
For sure. Thanks. Okay. Wisconsin Arts Board in brief. The Wisconsin Arts Board, established in 1973, is a state agency which nurtures creativity, cultivates expression, promotes the arts, supports the arts and education, stimulates community and economic development, and serves as a resource for people of every culture and heritage. Our vision is inspired by a quote from the late Robert E. Gard, Professor Emeritus, Community Theater, University of Wisconsin. In quotes, "If we are seeking in America, let it be for the reality of democracy in the arts. Let art begin at home and let it spread through the children and the parents and through the schools and the institutions and through a government. And let us start by acceptance, not negation, acceptance that the arts are important everywhere and that they can exist and flourish in small spaces as well as large, with money or without, according to the will of the people. Let us put firmly and permanently aside the cliche that the arts are frill. Let us accept the goodness of art where we are now and expand its worth in the places where people live." End quote. We embrace this vision. It guides our beliefs that the arts are basic to human life and essential to the human spirit. The Wisconsin Arts Board values imagination, creativity, curiosity, freedom of expression, respect and appreciation for all cultures and people, artistic quality, a broad definition of the arts, audience and patron development, and community engagement. A major portion of the agency's biennial appropriation from the state legislature is distributed to eligible artists and nonprofit organizations in the form of matching grants. Additional funds for grants are also allocated by the Wisconsin Art Board to the Wisconsin Arts Board by the National Endowment for the Arts, a federal agency. The board itself consists of 15 voting members who are appointed by the governor of Wisconsin. These members serve without compensation for a minimum of 1 3-year term. Members of the board are responsible for establishing the agency's policies and programs and for providing all grant awards. Board meets a minimum of 4 times per year. All meetings are open to the public. The board employs an executive director. As the chief administrative officer, the director supervises the Wisconsin Arts Board staff, programs, and day-to-day operations. The agency's full-time program and support staff implement policies and programs, including grants, and provide technical and informational services to the public.
Thank you. The aims and objectives of this particular program panel. The Creation and Presentation Grants Program provides artistic program and operational support to established nonprofit arts organizations whose primary mission is to create or present ongoing arts programming that makes a significant local, regional, or statewide impact on the cultural life of Wisconsin and furthers the Arts Board's community development and arts education goals. The goals of the Creation and Presentation Grants Program are to promote and sustain art of the highest artistic quality, to promote and sustain organizational and financial stability, to ensure appropriate long-range planning, ongoing assessment and evaluation, community input, and sound promotion as approaches to increasing the effectiveness of arts organizations, to increase local, regional, and statewide leadership among arts organizations in Wisconsin, to increase audience participation in and appreciation of programs created and presented by Wisconsin arts organizations, and to help arts organizations articulate the value of the work that they do and the impact of that work on community and economic development to their local and state officials and to the people in their community. Finally, to encourage arts organizations to work to enhance arts education efforts in their community. The goals are essential to the long-term vitality of arts organizations.
Okay, the role of the panelist. Your role today is to provide expert assistance to the Wisconsin Arts Board in its grant-making decisions and to help keep the board informed regarding needs and trends that you see. Today, you'll be reviewing grant applications according to established review criteria and making recommendations to the board. We would like you to apprise the board of needs and trends within your field and the community, either through general discussion of applications or in written assessments for board consideration. We would greatly welcome your input, and we would value any suggestions or recommendations you would like to make on the whole grant evaluation process. The role of the panel chair. The role of the panel chair is both informational and procedural. The chair is responsible for providing information regarding Wisconsin Arts Board policy and ensuring that the panel meetings progress in an orderly fashion according to established procedures. The chair is a non-voting facilitator whose job is to ensure that each panelist's point of view is given ample consideration throughout the review of each application. The panel chair convenes the meeting, reviews the board's conflict of interest policy and determines whether conflicts exist, guides the panel through the review process, guides the panel through the review by serving as a timekeeper and discussion monitor. Panelists should focus their deliberations on how each application's proposals meets the established review criteria. Chair may occasionally need to refocus the panel towards that end. Panel discussion should always be constructive, regardless of whether it is positive or negative. At the December board meeting, the panel chair will report the panel recommendations by staff to facilitate. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start again. At the December board meeting, the panel chair will report the panel recommendations. A written record of these recommendations and a summary of all comments will be provided by staff to facilitate the process. Panel chair will clarify these comments if requested by the board. The chair may also wish to comment on any trends or needs identified by the panel or make general observations regarding the overall nature of the grant requests. We would greatly value constructive comments and remarks on each application. Panel discussion is recorded and made available via audio file to all applicants when they are notified of the outcome of their grant application.
Thank you. And the role of staff. I can answer technical questions like eligibility issues or whether the applicant submitted the required budgets. Did this applicant ask for assistance from me in the grant proposal writing process, etc. I cannot make any qualitative artistic judgments or tell you what I think of their work. In terms of the criteria, you'll see it on your comment sheets, and I'll just articulate it here again. Each application will be evaluated based on the purpose and goals of the Creation and Presentation Program, and specifically on the following 4 criteria areas. 1, the artistic, educational, cultural value. 2, the organizational and financial management. 3, community participation and accessibility. And 4, planning, evaluation, and documentation. In terms of scoring recommendations, you'll be asked to score each application individually. However you score, be consistent throughout the day. Do not score hard at first and then get easier, or vice versa. The panel sheets you will then submit at the end of each 10-minute discussion. We'll talk about them, then you'll put your scores in, and then you will hit submit, final or submit, and they will go to Dale, who can let us know when all three are in, and then we will proceed to the next 10-minute discussion. If the applicant has received less than 50 points at the end of the discussion of the panel meeting, then we will assume that, well, they're automatically taken out of consideration for a grant this year, because you have indicated through your scores that they are not eligible in your mind for that grant. Alrighty, you will not be asked to deal with dollar amounts. That is one of our gifts to you. And then, yeah, what happens next in the process?
As previously noted, the panel chair takes the panel recommendations to the full board. After review and ratification of the panel's recommendations by the Arts Board members at their meeting, applicants will be notified of grant decisions by mid-December. Conflict of interest policy. You've received a conflict of interest form. In the unlikely circumstances that you have been asked to review an application of an organization with which you or a person with whom you have a familiar relationship are associated, we ask that you withdraw all consideration from that application. The panel should not take any action on any application which would financially benefit a member of the advisory panel or someone with whom a member has a familiar relationship. Panelists should be upfront about their ability to judge an application objectively. The perception of a conflict should also be considered and avoided.
As you know, the meeting is being recorded and live streamed because it's an open meeting. We won't, regarding the appeals process, we'd like to let you know that an applicant may only make an appeal based on procedural errors and not on the basis of an artistic judgment. Do you have any questions before we jump into the next part? Please share them. No? Everybody feels ready to go? Good to go? That's fantastic. All righty. Well, we say that we're going to begin at 9:10. And so if you want to stretch a little bit, in case they are in fact planning to watch the live stream, this is probably a great time to do that. Also, just to make sure, Pat, you were asking about sort of where you put the scores in the final comment sheet after discussion. Are you feeling confident about where to find that now? All right,
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes. Contessa Jim was sharing that he had created a little hack to move through the applications as they are listed in Smart Simple. He has put on each of his kind of the number that he has to search for in that list to get to the next application, which is of course on the review agenda in a different order than you will find it in Smart Simple. So anyway, things that make things a little easier.
I have done that as well.
There we go. All righty.
Just a quick procedural thing. We have 10 minutes to review for each application. Generally speaking, the first read will get 2 minutes. And so sometimes that's describing the organization and not always all the comments you might want to add. So I ask that you try and keep it to 2 minutes. And as we start out, I'll be giving a 2-minute warning or something close to that, just so you can know where you're at in case you're, have more to say. And you'll have a chance to come back and say those things, whatever comments you want to add. That just allows everyone to have kind of an equal voice and to make sure that, one or two people aren't reading through the whole thing and then another person just saying, oh yeah, that sounds great. I have the same comments. So we want to make sure everyone has an equal chance to voice their opinion. And so we'll kind of stick to that. If it gets to the 8-minute mark and we're looking like we're going to keep going in the discussion, I'll just kind of give that indicator. But I will say it's been my experience that after the first few application reviews, it's just kind of there's a flow and it generally kind of runs itself without too much of me interrupting and saying 2 minutes or 3 minutes or something like that. So we'll just kind of play it by ear a little bit and see how things progress along.
Thank you. Yes, and since you have all served as panelists at some point in the past, if you have any observations or suggestions or whatever at the top of the day here, please feel free to share them. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. Well, I'm going to go ahead and refill my coffee because I would like to honor the start time that we have. I'm going to turn my camera off. I may be doing that throughout the day because connectivity is sometimes an issue. And so if I do, it doesn't mean that I have left. I'll still be there. But right now, the camera's going off. See you all shortly.
See you all in a few minutes.
Jim, I'm not sure that I responded to your email, but I wanted to say what a delight it was to talk with your students, and I really was serious about wishing that I had had an entire afternoon with those 13 or however many were in the room.
Yeah.
People just learning more about their stories and what they're excited about. I have cause to envy you sometimes, the work that you get to do.
It is quite a treat, quite frankly, and you drew them out more than most of my classroom visitors have been able to do. So I appreciate that very much.
It
It was a treat. Yeah,
was a
I
treat.
I will I will at some point respond to your question about consulting when I have time to 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 reassess
Breathe,
my capacity.
breathe. Yes, just breathe. Oh my goodness. We're having interest in strategic planning around the state, y'all. So that is one of Jim's superpowers for sure. I was speaking to his fundraising class earlier this week, which is what I was just referencing. And I see we are at 9:09. Awesome. And everybody
Ooh,
is present and accounted for
there's no
and
accounting for me.
and so yeah, as soon as the number on the dial flips there, Bill, you can kick us off, and thank you again for your leadership here.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so we're ready to get started. Before we do, I just want to ask Contessa, I saw in your conflict of form that Peter Strathis Dance Company was listed. Do you feel like you have a conflict with that organization by judging them?
No, not necessarily. I think it's more of the grant writer that wrote the grant. I was familiar with the name, but
But
Okay.
she and I talked, and there was no perception or relationship that would cause and certainly no funds exchange that would cause any conflicts. So
Perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to double check.
thank you for doing that in your role as panel chair. Perfect. Okay.
Okay, let's get started on the first applicant, which is Peter Strathis Dance Inc. And the first read is Contessa, and the second read is Pat.
okay. So Peter Santa's Dance is to provide a forum for dance artists to harness creative artistic expression through performance, collaboration, education. It was founded in 2018, serving people in communities in southeastern Wisconsin, Chicago, and New York. On average, PSD produces collaboratives of 5 to 6 performances and public workshops per year. This wasn't to me a strong application. I have several notes, and I'm sure Pat will add on, but I don't think that the applicant articulated what they did well. Not having a strong description of like the organizational structure, partnerships, and parties involved. There was explanation of the deficit that they had in 2021, 2023, and their plans to increase revenue. It lists, the application lists themselves as a volunteer-based or volunteer staff, paid artists. They actually pay their artists. I wasn't sure as to where like the performances were held. They did not provide, I'm just looking back at the supporting material. So there was a flyer for the supporting materials, but I didn't have access to it because it just says no information on it. It was a PDF file. The 990 for the 2023 doesn't match what was on the application as far as the revenue. There wasn't a organization plan or evaluation tools uploaded as well. It's still, when I went into the PDF, it says not available, the attachment. The applicant mentioned that they don't have documented procedures for the evaluation, but doesn't Or they say they mention it in the application, but doesn't provide the evaluation document that they implement. That's all I would say. I did enjoy the work session.
I'm going to insert for a minute before Pat goes and say that after the fact, after the deadline, when I checked back in with this applicant on something, they said that they did have an organizational plan and another piece at that point. And it was developed after the deadline. And so in discussion, we determined that it wouldn't be fair to other applicants to include that and share that with you at that point. So, Pat, apologies for the interruption. Please go ahead.
Okay, my turn. I agree with you totally, Contessa. It just felt like it wasn't quite complete. I did appreciate that they were at APAP. They were showcased in New York for 2024. I mean, that's really got to speak to their artistic quality. I don't think you get there unless you're quite good. But yeah, the one picture we saw was just a postcard, no explanation, no season information, and the evaluation and the strategic plan were missing. That was very bothersome. Um, they have like three on their board and they only meet quarterly. I suggested that they increase that so they have a bigger working board to get some of these things done and that they would meet more frequently. But I agree, it was not um, the finest.
Jim, at this point with three panelists, we don't do any comments from any other panelists. We all look to you. Thank you.
All righty. I want to commend them for creating their barn project in response to COVID to allow dance to come to continue while distancing and similar measures were still in place. And the pivoting of that project into a dance incubator, I think, is very exciting. So I give them good marks uh, for art for artistic quality and innovation. With regard to, there were a couple of issues with regard to numbers in the narrative. They refer to a board of 3 people, and yet 6 people are listed on their board list. The numbers from their 990s and the numbers from their summary information in the application did not match, and strangely enough, as unusually enough, the numbers in the 990 were more favorable than the ones that they had in the summary information. So that would be helpful to know. It seems to me that with regard to that this is an innovative organization, but the planning process seemingly rests on a single talented person who has internalized it. I think the creation of a more explicit plan would allow that person to tap into the talents and resources that some of the other folks involved in the organization clearly bring, because there's a high level of qualification among these folks.
Thank you. Other comments as you move through the comment sheet, other questions for each other, or are you good to go? So this is what happens next. When you are done filling out the comment and the scores and you hit submit, it goes to Dale. And once he receives all 3, we'll see a thumbs up icon in his box. Thank you, Dale.
And we have to save the draft in order for the numbers to calculate, correct? Got it.
Okay, we have all the scores in. We'll proceed to our next applicant, and that is Madison Coral Project. And the first read is Jim, and the second read is Contessa.
All right. The Madison Choral Project was founded in 2013. It is, as the name would indicate, a choral music organization uh, with fully paid singers, bringing national quality professional choir in Dane County. And they say very proudly, it's not just a choir; it's a movement to improve our human experience through music. Uh, it was formed, as I said, in January of 2013. Um, 31 artists participated in the last year over the four to six events per year. Over the life of the organization, 25 plus concerts and 12 plus commissions and premieres. They have begun to present a very conscious effort to present works by composers from underrepresented groups, and they have very, very positive reviews. The artistic quality is clearly of a high level. The artistic director is also the manager. There's an 8-member board of directors, and they, like everybody, like every other performing organization, had pandemic challenges. They are working with community centers and nonprofits to reach diverse audiences. They are very dependent upon ticket sales to a large extent. Their average projected ticket sales is 65 tickets per show, with an average price of $34. This is clearly a labor of love for the artistic director. The singers are paid, but the director and the accompanist are not. Their programming does address social issues, particularly values and justice. Once again, they are featuring work by underrepresented composers. Their partnership seems very strong, and their visibility and reputation seem to be increasing. Um, they are logistically very well organized, but and their evaluation plans are sophisticated, but there's little information to date regarding the results of those evaluations. So I look forward to the results from those evaluation plans. Letters of support from partner organizations would have been helpful, since they cited several of them. And I would encourage the organization to think in terms of sponsorship rather than simply fundraising. What companies, individuals, or organizations would like to have their names associated with the obviously high quality work that the organization presents?
I would agree with Jim. I think one of the things that I did mention was for how did they do it was the section could have been stronger by elaborating more on the structure of the organization, understanding how they operate and aligning with what they do. It just would have been good to see explanation of the partnerships and the artists. I think they had sufficient community description. It painted the picture of who they served. The applicant had a good description of their impact, and the impact that it has on the artists in the community. There was a deficit in 2024, 2023, but of course they provided an explanation of that. And again, like Jim mentioned, as far as their evaluation, so I just mentioned that the section could have been stronger by elaborating more on how the outcome was used. So the surveys that they provide their audience, but it was again sufficient information. That was all my notes.
I want to add that I thought this was very creative, the work that they're doing. Um, the fact that they had a program with all different conductors, and they were highlighting women conductors. For a small organization, this is pretty amazing to me. Uh, Excellent work. And their collaborations, yes, I'd like to know more too, but those are great. The Bach Dancing and Dynamite Society and MYC, it's very inspirational.
right. If there are no other comments or discussion, please go ahead and score. Thank you all.
Okay, scores are in. Up next, we have Token Creek Chamber Music Festival, and the first read is Pat, and the second read is Jim.
Okay, I really like Token Creek. Um, they, I think they can grow their footprint. They're in the midst of big changes. They're in DeForest, Wisconsin, not far from Madison. So they're northeastern Dane County, serving DeForest, Wanakee, Lodi, Windsor, Sun Prairie. But that covers a lot of people. So I'm really hoping they can grow what they have. Chamber music was established in 1989. They have a deep history of summer concerts, and they've been doing that for a long time. And now they're looking at some changes for a new model for 2024. They want to have 6 events year round. Um, they're working with paid artists, paid staff, independent contractors is who they use. They want to be more, they said limber and experimental. Um, the small series has had a big impact. They started out in a wooded area, Token Creek, and it had an excellent reputation for 30 years. And I'm hoping they can have a revival again. The strengths were that they want to offer art as an experience and that it's different. You know, they want to bring in now Georgia O'Keeffe was in Sun Prairie, do some ecology, prairie, waterway restoration, Shakespearean events. They said they have easy parking, no dress codes, affordable tickets in a barn setting, no elitism. So it's very comfortable to attend one of these concerts. They're big in legislative days. They go to conferences, Chamber Music America. Um, Again, they're looking at their fine reputation in the past, and I really think they can build it. I thought it was beautifully written. Our goal is to enrich and enliven, provoke, inspire, exhilarate, refresh, disturb, and the adjectives go on. Um, I just think they wrote this very beautifully, and I think they have um, um, real opportunity here to bring it back and to grow it, and and they're on their way. So very impressive, supportive materials, thorough interviews. They all of their programs are highly sophisticated with information about the repertoire and the composers, and so it's a little bit different. I would say they lift up the bar for this, but they're kind of in an outdoor setting in the prairie. So I just really think this group has a lot of potential.
This is our second organization that does its work in a barn, which I think
Yeah.
is interesting. I'm like Pat. I am extremely impressed by the long history of extraordinary quality that this organization represents. Certainly, the founding couple are extraordinary artists of international reputation, so there's no surprise associated with that. They indicated that that this change from a summer chamber music festival to a year-round event series that's rooted in chamber music but goes in a variety of artistic directions had long been contemplated by the founders. I wish that they had spent some more of their narrative space on the vision of the artistic directors and their philosophical reasoning and commitment to the change. That's really the only thing that I found lacking in the presentation. I appreciated the thoughtful examination of the risk reward associated with the transition that was extremely helpful. And I'm excited by not only the artistic plan for the change, but also the environmental plan for the land on which the programming takes place.
I don't have too much to add. I think my comments are pretty much the same. The applicant provided a good description of who was involved. Um, the impact description, outlining their strengths and weaknesses, great examples. I did mention that just elaborating more on the evaluation process, good accessibility examples. Yeah.
Thank you all. I know I don't even have to tell you to fill out your comment sheets because you're in it, and I probably will see a thumb up from Dale any moment now. So, Bill, we're not
There it
working
is.
very
All right.
hard.
Okay. Okay, next up for consideration is Strollers Theater, and the first read is Contessa, and the second read is Pat. Pat.
Stroller Theater is a community theater company that sets out to enrich and evaluate artists and performers, creating networking opportunities for the artistic community, and offer best live theater and theater for general public. They serve a unique purpose in Madison, offering affordable theater, a blend of classic, original work, and new plays to audience that cannot afford overture. Budget-wise, it's fine. There was no deficit. Supporting materials. The organization plan was incomplete. I think it was just more just a lack of, as well as the evaluation tool. Applicant gives a thorough explanation of their season and the challenges that they face, including the ones that they faced during COVID. In 2023, they decided after an annual meeting to ask their, I think, 2023, 2024 artistic director to pay royalties and wait for like a reimbursement for the production earnings. And it just mentioned that 50% of their directors are retired and living on fixed income, and they're committed to the organization and agreed to do so. Applicant didn't have a strong description of just more of like the organizational structure and the roles and responsibilities. There was clarification provided regarding some board members being paid in the work that they do for the organization. I would have liked to see a better description of the community. It gives great examples of how and why they serve the community. Would have liked to get an understanding of the community if they serve better. They describe the theater, the Bartell Theater, regarding like elaborating on, I wanted to see more elaboration on the accessibility. They only stated that I think there was an elevator that was repaired or needed to be repaired. They had good examples for explaining their planning process. They provided good explanation on how their quarterly reviews work, and how they use and how they work and are used, but gives a broad description of the evaluation tool and process. Yeah, that's all that is.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready? Yes?
Yep.
Strollers Theater has been around for 66 years. I mean, they've been in downtown Madison for a very long time. Lots of volunteer artists, mostly on the classics, and they try and do some new works as well. They do have a unique purpose, I think, of serving the community, but I always look at how many artists and adults and children that they're serving. And there's 128 artists, but only 62 adults and no children. I mean, and I wouldn't expect really children to be there, but they're not reaching as many people as I think they could. And they said it's downtown, and they gave all the barriers of the people that used to come are no longer going out. They don't want, they're trying to reach those people. But yeah, I think they have a bunch of work to do. They're trying to keep it going, but it's definitely a struggle. COVID definitely hurt them. Um, and let's see, what else is I going to say? Yeah, it's just a very small footprint. I think they have a lot of work to do to to bring it back up and to reach more people. So maybe they need some. I mean, they have totally uh, invested volunteers, but I think they need to move out. They've had some ideas about how they could increase their income, like looking at the um, businesses of the people who are acting to support it, and that's a possibility too. But yeah, it's struggling a bit.
It seems to me that this is and this organization is an embodiment of that portion of the Guard quote that you led with, Bill, and that is that art exists with money or without, according to the will of the people. These folks clearly have a significant amount of willpower associated with the presentation of important work. And it's clear that they are doing work that they deem important, not only to themselves, but this is a community of playmakers, and they are putting themselves out to make certain that they can continue. I wish them significant luck because they are on a seemingly on a knife's edge at the moment. One of the support documents indicated that they are in the process of changing their identity from Strollers Theater to Madison Public Theater. I would like to have heard more about that in the narrative, and to have understood, to have had the opportunity to understand the reasoning behind it. That seems to me like a risk, although at the in the difficult situation that they find themselves in, perhaps this is the time to take such a risk. But I'd like to have known more about the reasoning that went into the change in identity. I recognize that the organization's cash on hand was very low, but I'm really made very uncomfortable by the mandate that the directors pay the royalties in advance as opposed to the organization. I suspect that the organization was uncomfortable with that as well, and I'm wondering if that practice is continuing.
Thank you all for those comments and questions.
All right, scores are in, and we are on to our next applicant, and that is Fort Theater Company. And the first read is Contessa, and the second read is Pat.
Sorry. Okay. Forte produces year-round professional theater in Milwaukee suburbs, so providing a forum for the growth and joy of live theater for artists, students, and audience alike. So they're based in Franklin, Wisconsin. I think the applicant has a great description of what they do and who are involved. They have a new executive director. They have a clear explanation of that transition. They have paid staff, artistic director, and the founder maintains a voting position on the board. There was a deficit in 2022, 2024 with explanation. I think they give great examples of their impact. I think they could elaborate more on the community needs. And I enjoyed their examples and supporting materials of like the evaluation, description and the planning. Impact you could.
Ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pat. Thank you.
Okay. I love the idea that they're doing live theater, and I think they've found a niche. Um, and I've seen that happen over my lifetime of work with the arts too, that they get these kids and the families and the communities involved, and they put on really quite professional looking um, presentations and musicals, and so everybody's involved and they love it. So they've reached a lot of people, like 3,000 adults and 1,700 youth, and they involve students from 12 schools. That was quite impressive to me because just to get the word out. Um, but I know how these theater kids are. I raised one myself, and they'll do anything to be in the next play and they form their own families in that way. They have a 850 seat facility in the Franklin Public School District, and they have a shared vision about having developmental program for the arts. And I thought that was really, really positive. But I sense that the adult productions, there's like two youth and two adult, they really want to get in a different place so um, they don't have as many restrictions as they do in the school district. Uh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I hope they're able to do that. They seem to have sound financial standing. They a lot of business supports, and their program for the kids anyway. They put in "You Rah, my kid is in the show," and I just found that to be very fun too. I mean, it's a great way to raise money, and they've also reached out to summer camps and busing kids in and um, yeah, good annual report, the e-newsletter, and they're using a lot of photos because they can. And this is what's fun about it is to get those kids involved in the arts. So I think they have some work to do to develop their adult plays and finding funding to get another location, another venue. But I like them. Good work.
I I I agree. This is a quality program. It's 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 not breaking new ground artistically, but they are
Right.
fulfilling a need in the suburban areas of Milwaukee. It would have been helpful if they had identified how many of the 120 artists that they listed were paid adults and how many of those folks were children, were the children involved in their youth program. I would like to have known that split. They also in terms of their strategic planning, their strategies are outstanding, but they mentioned in the narrative that they have identified key performance indicators that they are now tracking at every board meeting. What are those key performance indicators? The strategies look good. What are you doing about them? I would like to have known that. And I'm also left curious about how they're negotiating the delicate balance with the Franklin Schools and Saber Center, having them as partners while they seek a new venue of their own, perhaps outside of Franklin. That's a tricky situation to negotiate, and I wish them well in negotiating it. Also, they started a story in the narrative and then never finished it. That is, that there was apparently some confusion with regard to the mutual expectations regarding one of the adult productions, which led to a reduction in the number of adult productions at the Sabre Center. And yet, in the current season that they provided materials for, they're back up to 2 productions. How was that resolved? When you start a story like that, we need to know the ending.
Any other comments or questions on this one? All right, Forte Theater, please comment, score, submit.
Okay, the scores are in. And on our agenda, we're running a little ahead of schedule. On our agenda, we have 10 o'clock for a break and then 10:10 for our next applicant. Karen, what's your thoughts here?
What is your pleasure? We've reviewed dance, we've reviewed music, we've reviewed theater, and now we're going to look at the presenting applications. Do you want to keep going, which we certainly can do, or we can give you a moment to stretch, take some time, refresh coffee or tea? What would you like to do, panel? Jim is saying 5 minutes. Is that what you said too, Contessa? Okay. Either way. Okay, let's take 5 then, if it doesn't matter to anybody. All right. Is that okay, Bill?
Sounds good. We'll see you in
All
5 minutes.
Thank you. Go ahead
you,
and,
everyone.
yeah. Here we go. All right.
Can you hear
You
the
guys are
dance
going.
performance?
No, turn up your volume.
Some lovely music playing right outside my door.
I hear some percussion, I think.
Yes,
Nice. Did you have a chance to peek out since it was a break?
I did.
Good. What did it look like? Bring us along.
It's well, it's a courtyard, it's a concrete courtyard space, so it's a line of dancers. Can you hear them? Can you hear them exclaiming as part of the presentation?
I cannot, sadly.
Okay. In some
I
ways,
can
that's good.
I can just I can just imagine, which is lovely in itself. Hmm.
There is whooping.
Oh, yay. Let there be whooping.
Yes.
Let there be whooping and dancing on this Friday. All right. Well, as soon as Contessa joins us again, I think we can re-engage and there she is. Hey, you. And then yeah, Bill, whenever you are ready, are you guys ready to proceed into the presenting organizations? All right.
All right, let's go. Okay, first up for consideration is Headwaters Council for the Performing Arts, and the first reader is Jim, and the second reader is Contessa.
Headwater Council for the Performing Arts is located in Eagle River. It provides quality family entertainment to the residents and visitors of the North Woods at an affordable price. They've been in business since 1984. They are returning from COVID with a four-show season. Their typical season is approximately, whoops, sorry, there we go. They present their events at Northland Pines High School, which has about 715 seats. They ordinarily do a 5 to 6 show season, but returned from COVID with a 4 show season, 27 artists, serving 1,579 adults and 10 children. They had a program which related to the home front in World War II, in which they engaged veterans groups in a variety of ways. They have partnerships with a number of organizations. They are fully volunteer, a 12-member board. They have good business support, paid advertising. They have a great partnership with the Northland Pines School District, which affirmed that with a very warm letter of support for the program. They have also engaged mostly through this World War II program with Warehouse for the Arts, the Veterans Resource Center, the Eagle River Historical Society, Olson Memorial Library. They have had financial challenges, which they attributed to the fact that their treasurer was not experienced, especially in the filing of 990 forms. But they have rebounded by getting a more experienced treasurer, an advertising sales manager, and their reserves, which are healthy, are being replenished. They were able to present that veterans program with the help of a Wisconsin Humanities Grant, which I think was helpful. They are the only presenter in a remote area, and they are now beginning to focus more on outreach. The board meets 6 times per year. They book a year in advance. They don't book in January, February, and March because of weather. And they have an innovative event evaluation process. They have the audience vote at the end of each event by placing their playbill or ticket stub in one of 4 boxes that says excellent, very good, good, or other. I think that's fascinating, simple, and systematic. as an evaluation process. I particularly appreciated that they have contingency planning as part of their planning document, including the stipulation that there be a backup person for every role that a board member undertakes. And my only question to them is, I appreciate that they want to serve their audience, but have they considered stretching the taste of that audience once a year with something more diverse and unexpected?
Thank you, Jim. Sorry, I was muted there. All right, second reader, please.
Sorry. Jim, you mentioned that they state that they meet 6 times a year, but in their what have you done, it says there's a member of 12 and they meet monthly. So I don't know if it was
Okay.
a student, but that was in my notes. But let's see. I would have liked to see more just kind of like artistically as far as value, elaborate more on what they do. I think they provided great description of their partnership and the value. They have a clear explanation of all of their 3 past years financial reporting that they submitted. I think the applicant has sufficient description of like all of the role of the board. Definitely committed board members. There was no bios in the supporting materials. It was just like a list of their names. And then I think the applicant has a good community description, a broad explanation of their impact, community impact, and they state that they're the only nonprofit that presents annual performing arts programming in the area. Great supporting materials as it relates to the evaluation. So they had a good description of their timeline, evaluation planning, who was involved, and they articulated their outcomes very well, as well as the artistic evaluation. Those are all my notes.
All right,
I
Pat.
just like to add that I've seen this in a few organizations. Anybody who works with like the Wisconsin Humanities Council or the GEM grant, another program to help get awareness of their programs. I've done that in the past, and it's more work. There is no question, but it reaps great benefits, and I'm happy to see that they're doing this. I would also agree with Jim, like just stretch a little bit more of and not giving the audience exactly what they want and things that will sell. I get it. I've been there, but just a little. There are things that will cross the lines.
Thank you. All right. Score them.
Whoops. That's what.
Okay, looks like the scores are in. We're ready to move on to our next application, and that's Park Center Limited. And the first read is Pat, and the second read is Jim.
Okay, the Park Center is in the Hayward, the Lakes area, in northwest Wisconsin. It's a historic theater, and anytime you have a historic theater, it adds a little bit of complication to fundraising and your lives. Totally understood. But what I like so much about this organization is that they really collaborate with local organizations. I mean, the Birkebeiner, the Lumberjack World, Muskie Fest. I mean, nobody else probably in the state can do those kind of things, but they know their community. and they really want to make it happen. They only have 267 seats, but they say the park is the sound is quite good. And the park is also a hub for local and regional music, theater, classic, educational films, community and business events, fundraisers, on-stage performances by the local school district. So they really look at it as a gathering space, which I think is an excellent idea to not only get the word out of how many things happen in this old renovated theater. They're aware of their fundraising needs, the needs for the building improvements, and whatever it takes to be successful. But they are completely community funded through donations, ticket sales, and concessions. Uh, their mission provides joy and connection through the arts. How great is that? The Artistic Center for Performance and Education, but their work is guided by our belief in enhancing your life and commitment to quality of life. And this is the really good one, sense of place. They're in the Northwest Woods communities, and that's who they're connecting with everything that they do. Inspiration, deep community connection. They're passionate and committed board of directors, subcommittees. They have 50 volunteers. Again, they're in a small rural area, and to have this much buy-in and support is quite good. Board and staff, most of them have multiple roles, which makes me smile. The treasurer and finance and marketing. I mean, when you're in a small organization, you have to do multiple things, and people do it well. They engage 4,700 adults, 200 kids, um, excellent partnerships, passionate people. Their venue has very limited visibility, no parking, but they're making the most of it and bringing these people into their theater. Email newsletter I thought was very well done. Nice brochures. Um, when they need volunteers, they just list what they want people to do. Sign up and help us out. Ticket outlets throughout the community. One time they had a speaker, and he spoke on volunteering, and it was a $10 suggested free offering, and it was sponsored by Fishing Has No Boundaries. And I just thought, again, that was a great connection. Discount for advance tickets, some free events on the first Thursday. They have theater. They grew from 43 shows in 23 to 36 in 24. They did a short film festival where they got people to vote on the films. And again, getting people involved, getting them engaged, not passively watching. They had cult horror, classic films, Ode to Muskie Fest, and the Hayward schools
Pat,
come
you're on
in
the
and do their
4 minute mark.
jazz band, and well, I like this one, and dance studios. So I had a lot to say. Anyway, I think they're doing a really great job.
Thank you, Pat.
They refer to themselves as a hidden gem, but I don't think they're that well hidden because they were voted best nonprofit in Hayward.
I
Uh,
know. It's
so,
great.
so I think that's pretty important. Clearly, they indicate that they're really just learning to fundraise right now, but they have been successful in attracting residents to settle in Hayward as opposed to some of the outlying communities because of the activity that they bring. I was impressed with the fact that there are very clear roles assigned to their board members. Their programming is lovely, and my suggestion is they indicate that they're looking to do this to engage with similar organizations that are bringing attractions to rural areas so that they can block book. I want to suggest that they engage with the Wisconsin Presenters Network and other organizations that are in similar situation. The Adams County Community Theater is another one doing very, very similar things. I was very impressed by their planning documents, particularly for an organization of their size. It would have been helpful for them to speak a little bit about the balance of local events and touring events and movies. They indicated that they do all of those and they gave great examples. But I would have been pleased to see what the proportions of those in their presentations were. But overall, I think this is a very strong organization and a very strong application.
The only thing I would add is just I just wanted to learn more.
Mhm.
I think it was especially like the impact part. Like I know, being named one of the best nonprofit. Like I just wanted to learn or know. Even I'm always obsessed with just like the evaluation process. So just elaborating more on that. So
All right.
All right, scores are in, and our next application is Dane Dancers, and the first read is Contessa, and the second read is Pat.
Dane dances, yes. All right, Contessa.
So, founded in 1999, Dane Dances. It's a nonprofit volunteer-based organization. Their mission is to provide joyous social experience through music, dance, and other activities that help to facilitate improved race relations in the Dane County and surrounding areas based in Fitchburg, Wisconsin. They hold 5 events. 5 events will be held. The musical performances consist of 2 bands. In addition to the bands, Dane dances also have a DJ to engage the audience with free dance lessons. That was nice. I had a quick question for you, Karen, in regards to the organization plan. It was that the supporting materials that was submitted was bylaws, and I didn't know if that was okay to submit in replace of an organizational plan.
Well, Contessa, I'll interrupt and just say that my guess is you have the answer to that. We asked for an organizational plan and they submitted your bylaws. So you decide as panelists whether those bylaws give you insight into their planning, which an organizational plan would do or not.
They provide great description of their events, explanation of all the people that are involved. Definitely enjoyed reading this application. Just again, with all of the good examples in the descriptions, examples of their volunteers, their committee planning. They have good support materials as it relates to the commitment letters and partnerships and supporters that they have. Artists are paid outside of them being a volunteer-based organization. They have great description of community and connected it to the need of the project and the events that they offer. They have good stats on outcomes, good plan on evaluations. But again, I like to see more elaboration on the process, but great evaluation supporting materials.
Okay. I think this is an incredible organization. They have their true niche, and they've been there 25 years in reaching the community and it's a culture-rich area. I mean, Madison has like 4 of everything, but their mission is to let people experience a joyous social get together, improve relations with other people, and great partnership. So in just 5 concerts in the summer, they have over 10,000 people I mean, what, who else reaches that many people in five concerts? I mean, it's truly a community event. People are everywhere. They love going to the Monona Terrace, and Monona Terrace loves them because it it livens everything up. It's all volunteer. The City of Madison and the Madison Arts Commission both support them, and it's really a win-win for the terrace and the community. Um, 18-member board, diverse. They have subcommittees. They plan and they choose their bands and their performances. Their evaluation system, trying to get people to do the QR codes. I mean, you can't get everybody when you're an outdoor event, so I don't know how valid that is. But in a way, I kind of don't care if 10,000 people are there and they're having a good time and they're enjoying music together outside. I mean, I think they're really doing a great community service.
And it's clearly a diverse crowd. I think
Mhm.
that's important. And the organization is trying to do good, and they do good well. Um, the fact that they paid artist fees during COVID, despite the fact that they had to cancel the events, bravo to them. That is ethical action of the very highest order. I love this organization. I think this was an extraordinarily good application, in spite of the fact that it didn't have a real organizational plan indicated. The rest of the information was very clear and compelling. This has clearly become a an important part of a Madison summer, and they're to be commended for that.
Any other comments before you score? Okay. Bill, this is one of those panels that I just don't feel like you need to worry if they go a little over, because we are
Pretty
so
much, right?
ahead of the game.
Yeah. And with three panelists, I think everyone's having an equal chance to have their voice heard. So we're just going to let it flow.
Yep.
Okay, up next we have Cal Center Presents, and the first read is Pat, and the second read is Jim.
Cal Center presents in Reedsburg. Reedsburg's about 10,000 people in population. It's considered rural Wisconsin in Sauk County. It stands for Communication Arts and Learning Center, and it's dedicated to bringing in world-class entertainment. And I will remind you of that because if they're working on it, there's not a lot that I'm seeing. They were founded in 1999. They have a 600-seat auditorium in the Reedsburg High School, another partnership with the area high school. And I know what that's like. And it's it's a real gift to be able to have an auditorium that you don't have to fix. But the best part about this one is that the Cal Center raised all the money and they gifted it to the school district of Reedsburg, which is something I've never heard of. So kudos to them for doing that. Um, they brought it to the Reedsburg area, and so they started this Cal Center about the year 2000. But it was all built by private funds, so they have 49 artists, 3,100 people, 340 children, 78 events per year. They do Missoula Children's Theater and Contemporary Christian, Steely Dan. It's a real mix. Um, but I question the 340 children. It seems like maybe we could reach some more people when you're using a school district facility. I mean, having a daytime um, performance that maybe they could do again at night. Um, but 29% of their budget is sponsorships and donations. I mean, I think that's pretty significant, and they've really got the support of the community. The board is a nice mix of business owners, but they're looking for more board volunteers. Um, I suggested that because you need more people who are willing to do the work and expand the reach. An impressive program book with many sponsors, nice participation in WPN and Midwest Arts. They too got a chamber award. And they partner with the American Legion, who brings in 2 country music shows a year. And the Reedsburg Players is another community group that does things in various venues, but not on their stage. I think their weakness, as I mentioned, bringing in world-class entertainment. I would like to see a few stretch artistic ventures in this. It's okay to, I wrote this, it's okay to go out of your comfort zone and that of your audience to bring in artists with that add some educational and cultural aspects. Programming can be a little more adventurous. And they said they want to offer what the audience wants, but they're seeing an increase in Latino population. I suggest that they consider that now. Meet with the core group and see what appeals to them, and come up with something that would stretch people a little bit. But yeah, a good organization. Like I said, has some work to do, but we're rural America, which is close to my heart.
It's a very carefully run, well-run organization. They keep their finances tight. They do have little tolerance for risk, it appears. But they
Yes.
have great community support. They're expanding their advertising beyond the Sauk County area, and they indicated that their tickets were up 45% in
Right.
regard to that. So clearly they're becoming more sophisticated in their marketing, working to engage younger audiences in part through social media. As Pat said, good partnerships. They are conscious of their place in the Reedsburg arts ecology, and working hard to be a good partner for the rest of the folks there. It would have been helpful, I think, both to them and to the panel if they had fleshed out their very fine general strategic plan goals with some year by year goals. I mean, the statements that they made are all terrific. What are they doing about those statements? How is that plan going for them? And I agree with Pat that while I understand prudence dictates that they program based upon what has been successful before. If they want to expand their audience, they need to branch out and try some new things.
I agree with Jim and Pat in regards to broadening and expanding. They paint the picture as far as them have huge community support, examples, the partnerships. I just wanted to see more of the impact of the community, specifically articulated.
Specifically what?
Articulated, the impact.
Articulated. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I glitched. My thing glitched. Any other comments? Then Jim and Pat especially, but Contessa too, when we get to the evaluation portion, you said this on a couple of the applications, so I don't want to forget it. You're encouraging some stretch, and so maybe we can talk more about what that might look like for these groups when we get to that evaluation piece. I would be grateful. Thank you. I see a thumb up, and Bill, you are muted.
Apologies. Okay, up next, I'm sorry, is early music now. The first read is Jim, and the second read is Contessa.
Early Music Now is located in Milwaukee for the past nearly 40 years. They have been programming, uh, they have been fulfilling their mission, which says they are dedicated to the creation of lively connections with the past through historically informed presentations of music composed before 1800. For most of its history, this organization has been very carefully, tightly run with a high concentration on the quality of the performances. And they have presented internationally renowned organizations in early music and doing extraordinary work. Following COVID, however, they looked at the fact that they had over $500,000 in the bank, a fund balance that they had accumulated over time, and they said, we decided not to shrink programs and performances, but rather to use the ample savings that we've acquired over the years to increase programming. And that investment is paying off through expanded visibility, increased ticket sales, and performing opportunities. I can't say how much this thrills me to see an organization that had been extremely niche look at its finances, look at the circumstances of coming back from COVID, and to say, we're going to invest. We're going to invest in growth. We're going to invest in innovation. Now they're still doing 7 performances of touring attractions, but 4 pay-as-you-can organization performances with local and regional organizations, 8 free educational and outreach activities in libraries, medical centers, and retirement homes, 3 Baroque and beer presentations at microbreweries, and providing the music for 10 Shakespeare in the City performances with Optimist Theater. Extraordinary partnerships, extraordinary response to the pressures, extraordinary and unique response to the pressures of coming back from COVID, and their partnerships, they're producing early music in unexpected contexts. They're really their only concession to COVID financial uh, uh, restrictions has been to book smaller ensembles so that they could pay smaller artist fees for their international touring events. But the investment in the community and in developing audience is extraordinary.
Thank you.
Yeah, they had a great description of, or just examples of what they've done despite of COVID, and I thought that was just pretty cool, just to know their reserves and that they would use it for continuing the program. Great description of their partnership and the audience. They have really good examples of who their audience is. They provided a clear explanation of their financials for the past 3 years that provided. Good examples of the impact and community engagement. The evaluation description and who is involved with those, in providing those examples of who's involved. And a great description of the plan. And again, explaining who was involved.
I just want to third this. What an awesome organization. They have found unexpected ways to thrive. I mean, Baroque and beer, come on, they're reaching the masses, and it is totally unconventional. And then they can still go into nursing homes with a small group and provide education and totally soothing music. It's just an inspiration, and that they are trying to have these pay what you can and outreach to libraries, retirement homes, incredibly creative, wide-reaching music in the parks. I was just very impressed because I've known about them for many, many years. And what did it say? They had the best year in 38 years. It speaks to all the good things they're doing.
One point, they gave some information about their cumulative reach over the life of the organization. Uh, uh, they said 55,000 concert attendees and 25,000 outreach attendees was 70,000 people. It's actually 80,000 people. They're doing even better than they thought.
Thank you. All right, please score.
Okay, scores are in. Up next, we have associates to restore the Temple Theater, and the first read is Jim, and the second read is Pat.
There it is. All right. The Associates to Restore the Temple Theater is in Viroqua, a small community in northwestern Wisconsin, to preserve, and their mission is to preserve and enhance the historic Temple Theater as a cultural and civic center. ARTT, ART, which is Associates to Restore the Temple Theater, will present activities and events for the enrichment and enjoyment of our community. They came into being in 1995. They got the theater listed on the National Register of Historic Places in the year 2000, and then had a grand reopening in 2002. It's a 552-seat historic theater. Their 23-24 season had 54 events, 29 films, and 25 live events. They do 5 to 10 rentals per year, and it's a tight budget and it's very well run. They too had some treasurer and 990 submission problems during COVID, and actually did for a period of time lose their 501c3 status, but it has been regained, and they appear to be going forward in an appropriate way. Their partnerships include the Ridges and Rivers Book Festival, local community theater, lots of local businesses. They're engaging more recently with 4-H and raising funds. Great community reputation, and they understand their economic impact, have a fine connection with Viroqua Tourism, the Viroqua Tourism Organization, and they are a great connector through the Wisconsin Presenters Network. They're one of the people that has performed service on behalf of that organization. Very sophisticated data tracking, but I'm not clear on how it impacts their decision making. It would have been helpful to see more about that. Uh, uh, and then I say the same, that the information from the Okie Dokie Brothers performance was very interesting. How does that information help you make future decisions? But I am also impressed by the fact that they are financially stable, even though, like every organization, especially one with an old building, they always feel on the brink of financial crisis. They have very healthy reserves.
Thank you, Jim.
Again, how many people do they engage? Um, 8,000 adults and 1,300 children. I mean, they're really reaching out. I just see the children as the future audiences. And if we're not reaching them, I think, we have a little work to do. But reaching outside the community, 80% of the ticket buyers live elsewhere. I thought that was pretty amazing. They're bringing in people from all over. Um, they have a paid executive director and a board of 5. Again, I might suggest 2 more, 4 more. I mean, give them more bodies to work with. The Ridges and Rivers Book Festival, Viroqua Community Theater, they're all local program partners, and they do rent the theater, planning a capital campaign. The one they did with the Chinese dance and history presentation, and having Chinese food. I thought, again, that's a really um, a really good way to connect with everybody and kind of pull it all together for the audience. Um, yeah, the Viroqua Tourism Commission is a funder of theirs, so they recognize them as making a difference in the area. And yes, they're really active with WPN. Um, yeah, they couldn't solicit donations in there for a while, but they post a lot, Facebook, YouTube, and I think that's the way people have to go, but you can't just do that because if nobody ever looks, people don't have Facebook or don't want to be on Facebook, then you have to have other ways. So, again, know your audience and pull those people in. Letters of support from the local library. They did a nice job.
Yeah, they had clear examples of like their assets, and explanation of like the challenges with the examples of resolutions of those challenges. They had great description of that, and gave an extensive like example of their economic impact. Um, and I always appreciate how they explain how they use their evaluations or outcomes.
And Contessa, just for my notes, does that mean they do a good job at doing that, or you'd be interested in more information about how they do that?
No, I think the applicant had a good description of how evaluations are.
Thank you. I try not to assume.
Okay, scores are in. Next up, we have Viterbo College, and the first read is Contessa, and the second read is Jim.
All right, the Fine Arts Center at is it
The turbo.
Turbo University mission is to engages, educates, and energizes community through the power of live performances and cultural programming. They have a Bright Star series where it's Bright Star series and Weber Center series and a special presentation. And they're serving the greater La Crosse community. In addition to their regular season offerings, they provide 2 free special performances for community enjoyment. I think the applicant articulated what they did very well, with explanations of who is all involved. Great description of their organizational structure and roles. They have a separate budget due to it being a program under the university. So the university 990s were submitted. So they provided their budgeting for their programming. See, from their budget, they have an explanation of their deficit in 2022, 2023, providing the explanation of the higher expenses due to low ticket sales. They have a thorough community description. The applicant has a great explanation of their work and the impact on the community that they serve. Great description and supporting materials for the evaluation process, the plans, great examples of how they track and use their feedback. And again, great supporting materials and work example.
Right.
I want to echo Contessa about the quality of the program and the discussion of the structure. I want to make 3 points. The first is their use of the community description to tell the story of the Gina Chavez booking was an interesting way for them to extend the space that they had for the narrative. I'm not sure. I just want them to know that we noticed. Um, but the point that they made that they are working with their programming to serve new aspects of the community was an important point to make, and it was appropriately made as we began to review the application. So I did appreciate that. Um, I wish that they had drawn together rather than simply listed the ways in which they're counter programming community expectations, and that they had reflected on it more deeply throughout the narrative as they did during the story of the Chavez residency. Their repeated refrain was, they say we're betraying our Catholic heritage, but we disagree, which they said at least twice and I think 3 times. It's insufficient. They have the pieces of a more positive story in their information. They are changing their programming for 3 reasons. One is practical. The old audience after COVID is likely not to come back fully, so they need to reach out to new audiences. The second is strategic. The university, which is in a precarious position as every small independent liberal arts college is. The university needs new connections to the community, and they are helping to provide those in service to the institution. And then finally, there's the philosophical background. We get hung up, people who are involved in religions get hung up on the thou shalt nots. There are lots, but the thou shalts are important. And in Catholic theology, one of the key central thou shalts is love thy neighbor as thyself for the love of God. And that's if they hinge their discussion of their programming and the reasons for it on those three areas, practical, strategic, and philosophical, they will find themselves in a strong position with regard to any objections that they might encounter. And finally, they indicated that the arts and economic prosperity six discussion did not include the La Crosse area. And the reason for that is because nobody in La Crosse stepped up to sponsor a local regional study. The the leader of the Viterbo program is in fact part of the La Crosse arts community and serves in a formal way on the board of directors. This is the time to start motivating, to bring that map to a community meeting and get the La Crosse arts community motivated now to sponsor a local or regional study for the Arts and Economic Prosperity 7 project, which is going to happen very quickly. So contact the Arts Board, get involved that way.
Jim, did you just rewrite their narrative for them?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so amazing technical assistance and sharing your expertise with an applicant within a discussion of an application. So just grounding on on what was there and appreciating what you would have liked to have seen more of.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, who is the next, please? Actually, it's Pat. You get to share some thoughts. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say they're reaching, lots of people, 22,000 adults, 8,000 plus kids. Again, a strong mix of a program. I get what they're trying to do, but as Jim said, how many times did we hear it? Like, well, we don't care if they come or not. And I use the word compromise a little bit, or it's like how you say things. You can always say things in a little more positive light. But I agree with Jim on getting that data and working with the larger arts community to, open this up, especially with the university potential of having hiring problems and supporting the whole institution.
All right, any more comments or questions? If not, please score.
Okay, scores are in. Next up, we have Mabel Tainter Literary Library and Education Society. The first read is Pat, and the second read is Jim.
I'm trying to find Mabel.
Number 10.
Thank you. Check, check. All right. Mabel Tainter, a wonderful historical account of the building, and it's important to the community. They're in Menominee, Wisconsin, again, a small rural area, but they served 15,000 people. They had 500 artists and 2,500 children, and they only have 261 seats. So that's a lot of turnover to reach that many people. They connect to the community, preserve the building, and continue their legacy. They have 40 to 50 professional ticketed performances a year. They are very busy. 150 free in the Spirit Room Lounge, local theater, regional dance. Um, they have a fabulous appeal for a small community and student exhibits, UW Stout, local artists. They added classic movies this year and partners with the Wisconsin Shakespeare Festival. They sponsor a fourth grade field trip, Menominee School District, one free performance per year. And they continue to invest in the building, LED lighting, hearing assistance. I think they're very creative about how they bring the community together. Kind of reminds me of Early Music Now, where they put in a spirit, room where people can gather and they can talk about the arts and they can experience live, probably mostly local artists, but I think they have great collaborations. Menominee Theater Guild, regional dance troupe, nationally touring artists, author readings, speakers, and that spirit room, local and regional talent. I mean, what a gift to be able to have another venue. I mean, just think when they thought of this whole idea, it's like, yeah, let's take the basement and make it into something fun. I mean, in a historic building, I'm just very impressed with that. Um, they strengthen relationships with local performances. So the Theater Guild has 35 performances a year. So there's another place for local talent. Um, but they have big plans. They're very progressive, ready to meet the challenge, improve the building, restoring the billiard lounge, a $300,000 restoration of the staircase, $200,000 in the lighting system. I mean, and they work in a county that is 19.6% poverty rate, which the state average is 10.7. So they are making ways for the community and the whole area to come together to the Mabel Tainter Theater and whatever else they call it now. But they have a free event in May, outdoor performances for kids, family activities, and it's all funded through local sponsorships. Classic movies theater, Shakespeare performance. I just am very impressed with the whole thing. It's a 135-year-old landmark, deeply connected to Menominee's identity, strong community ties, a large volunteer base, and that includes landscaping and event management. So again, they're bringing people together to do these things, to take care of it. One interesting thing that I didn't know is he said the grant donations for historical landmarks offers an additional revenue stream that they can, and again, that's another whole bunch of work, like the GEM grant and the to do that and accomplish all that in the midst of programming a series. Diverse and more niche performances are risky. They say that same thing. Let's have a little stretch. I said it's okay to take a risk on one show. I mean, just a little bit of a stretch, I think would be a nice thing. But yeah, very impressive organization.
Yeah, many organizations are held prisoner by the fact that that they exist to maintain old buildings. This is an organization that seems to have embraced that fact, and yet it hasn't let them. They don't define themselves by the building. They use the building as a platform from which to launch other kinds of activities, including among their partnerships. They indicated in one of their responses that they didn't have, quote, significant partnerships. Seems to me that their partnership with the Community Foundation to hire a development director who raises money both for the endowment of the Mabel Tainter and for the Community Foundation is a very significant partnership, and something that a number of other organizations in small communities might look into as a model. That seems to me to border on best practice here. The their fund balances are very strong. Clearly, they have a lot of projects that take a lot of money because a building on the National Register of Historic Places has to be maintained in a very particular way, and it's costly to do upgrades, but they're thinking strategically about that, and I find them the fact that 61% of their ticket purchasers are from outside Menominee is an example of the fact that they not only perceive themselves, but they are perceived as a significant organization in the region.
I echo Pat and Jim. I enjoyed reading this application. Great descriptions of their community impact, partnerships, their SWOT analysis of the organization. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say.
Two other quick points. A very well thought out strategic plan, but I would love to have seen a progress report on it. And a very nice clean annual report. And as Pat mentioned, the upgrades to the theater and the accessibility effort, the efforts to improve accessibility in a historic venue, very, very impressive.
Yeah, that was in my note. They provided great description of accessibility efforts.
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize. Did I interrupt?
No, no, no.
I thought you were done.
Oh, no, you're good.
Great. Thank you. Please score. Please do what you're already doing, I'm sure.
Okay, scores are in. We are up to our last applicant, and that is the Grand Oshkosh. And the first read is Jim, and the second read is Contessa.
Once again, a historic theater that is not held prisoner by its historic status. They take advantage of it. The The Grand Opera House in Oshkosh, or redubbed the Grand Oshkosh, is the oldest operating theater in Wisconsin, having been founded in 1883. It was restored in 1986 and 2010. It is owned by the city of Oshkosh and operated by the Grand Oshkosh organization. The mission is to serve the community by promoting and enhancing the performing arts through entertainment and education, to preserve and expand the significance of the historic Grand Opera House as the centerpiece of a culturally dynamic downtown Oshkosh. They do over 100 performances a year, 130 artists, 28, and reach 28,000 adults and 6,200 children. They also have partnerships within the and mutual support agreements, formal mutual support agreements with local organizations to use the theater and enhance the programming range of the organization. There are 2 theater troupes, the Oshkosh Symphony. There are 4 high schools that use the facility. They also do cabaret-style performances in their grand lounge area, sometimes after performances and sometimes as standalone events, which they call the Dark Night series. Their education programs serve 14 northeast and central Wisconsin counties, and their job they used to be the leading presenting organization in the Fox Cities area, and then Widener Center and the Fox Cities Performing Arts Center came into being. So they have they now focus their presenting activities on complementing the work of the local producers and doing more boutique presentations. 7 full-time administrative staff, 5 part-time tech staff, 5 part-time house staff, a 22-member board, a very strong board. They present their main stage series is the Alberta Kimball Foundation series. Plus, they have sponsored series for their student discovery, for their family series. They have an art reach series. And in addition to the Dark Nights programming, one of the most fun parts of the program is that they take advantage of the fact they are known as one of the most haunted buildings in Wisconsin, and they program 31 days of activity during October called the Haunted Happenings. It's a taste of everything. They have had a long time relationship with the performing organization, the Four Phantoms, which features 4 extraordinary singers who have played the lead role in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway and in London. And they finally and that group chose to record a PBS special over 4 performances in the Grand Opera House during this past year. So that's very exciting. They also stayed relevant during COVID by producing their own The Grand at Home series, creating unique events that they live streamed to their audiences, keeping those audiences from drifting away. And they do art reach offsite programming with residency artists. I indicated that. Oh, their tagline for their educational program is every child, every grade, every year, which is extraordinary. They have clear, well-conceived plans and tracking data, and they have American Sign Language interpreters available for every event upon request. With the great information that they provided, it would have been helpful if they reviewed the responses to the first 2 sections of the narrative in order to clarify the discussion a little bit more. Those 2 areas got a little bit muddled because there was some overlap in the information that they presented in those. My only criticism.
I agree, Jim. I think they had a great description of their performances, their series, their community outreach. I think I just wanted to see more of elaborate more on the partnerships and how they were involved. the section could have been stronger, for how they did what they did, like you mentioned, Jim, just now, the description of, again, those who are involved in kind of the organizational structure of that. They have clear explanation of their deficit in 2023. Great examples of the broader impact, but I just would have liked to see more, or just them articulate more of the community impact. Sufficient description of evaluation tools and how they were used with their supporting material. Those are the only things I would.
All right, Pat.
Again, another excellent organization. They really understand their market. As Jim said, they have competition, so they know what to do to get around it and still serve their people. Another example of reaching out for a GEM grant in the tourism. I just find that, so invaluable. He shared an honest evaluation when he lost a staff member, and I thanked him for that, because it's like, that's real life. That's what, it's not always perfect, but yeah, every step of the way they've kind of work things out, focus committees. And I liked what they said. They look at the significant areas of strength and struggle continue to be addressed through the creative process of review, revision, and refinement. Very well said.
All right, other comments or discussion? Please score. And they're in.
All right. Well, do we
And
want to take a little bit of a break before we head into the scoring review and meeting evaluation, and give Dale just a minute to get the scores together? Does that make sense?
how about if we take 10 with Dale
Of course, Dale doesn't get a break. He's busy in the background. So thank you, Dale.
Well, let's give ourselves 10 minutes and reconvene, and I will end this piece with a huge thank you for the work that you've just done, and a thank you for the work that you're about to do. See you shortly. I've left my coffee cup somewhere. I'm going to go in search of it and be right back.
That's the most Karen thing I've ever heard. Let me just tell you.
I just cracked my second morning bottle of Diet Coke, so there we are.
Ooh. Well, it's working, Jim, because you all cruised through those. So,
Yeah, the crash will come.
oh, no doubt.
Anyone who disagrees.
I heard that, Caitlin Burrell.
That was said with love, and
I heard that too.
It clearly was.
As the person whose cubicle is next to mine and who often holds my coffee cup for me until I remember that I left it there. You have every right for your commentary.
Yes, yes. And as I say that, I'm not sure where my coffee cup is right now, so I can't really. I don't have much ground to stand on here.
It's going around.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Hi, Bill. I think we are all here, and if I don't miss my guess, raring to go on this next portion
All right.
of the meeting. All right, thank you. So welcome back, and thank you will be the theme, I think. Thank you for, again, the work that you have just done. And Dale is finished with the sheet. So I will share my screen and share with you what you have wrought score-wise momentarily. Just to sort of recap what this portion of the meeting is about, we'll be hearing from you about your thoughts about the applicant pool, and it's the new applicant, which means you received a bunch of different kinds of applications from different kinds of organizations in this mix. So thank you for your flexibility and pirouetting from one discipline to another throughout the discussion. So we'd like to hear about trends that you have seen in each of those disciplines or as a whole, and not only within the discipline and the work itself, but if there was something related to the application that you saw. We are always looking to improve this application and its process. And so I'm betting that you have some thoughts on how that might work for us. Please share them. And I will be following this conversation up at some point in the next little while with another evaluation tool once you've had a chance to kind of process today and had a minute to catch your breath. So look for that as well. But meantime, why don't we start with the scoring sheet that Dale's created so you can see what that's all about. And then we'll move into an evaluation of the process, the program, the field, all of that good stuff. And my screen sharing went perfectly yesterday, so I am going to believe that it will do the same today. And let me know when you can see what I see. All right, I see a thumbs up from Jim. Great. All right, so please just take a moment and see the scores, see how they sort of fell, see the averages. And as you're processing that, I will share one thing that I see, and that is that your average scores were less than 50 for one of the applicants. And that tells us and the board that you have evaluated that applicant as not being ready for this particular creation and presentation grant, and that you would encourage staff to work with them if they choose to apply again, and go from there. Do I have that understanding correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Awesome. This is so interesting. I'm screen sharing in a different way, so I can't see you and this. But if I minimize this, can you still see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, that's the important thing. I want to be able to see you, so. All right, any observations about what it is that you're seeing? Any surprises? Any, yep, that looks like what we talked about. That makes sense. Let's move on.
I would say that very much looks like what we talked about.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. All right, well then, once again, thank you for that and the work that led you there. It was very apparent to me in your discussion that you had spent a lot of time and careful reviewing of the material. And so on behalf of the applicants, as well as us and staff and board, I'll thank you. And I'll stop talking for a minute and let poor Bill get a word in edgewise. Honestly, when I get on a roll, man.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you, Contessa, Jim, and Pat for all your careful consideration, your really thoughtfulness, your thoroughness, great conversation. We just so appreciate all the effort that you put into this, and we can't do this without you. So a huge thanks on behalf of the Arts Board for all you contributed here, and we're just super, super grateful. Also, thank you to Karen and Dale and Caitlin, the staff, who also your guidance and your behind the scenes are just so appreciated. So thank you to everybody.
Hey, thanks. All right, that's a thumbs up from Dale again. Okay, and now this is your chance to say what you would like to see different, or what you notice that you're concerned about, or what you notice that you celebrate, or all of the things. And there is no particular order. Today, we're going to welcome whatever you have to share.
Let me do a process thing first.
Please.
As I mentioned in regard to the Oshkosh grant, it seems to me that there is overlap in the first two questions. And the expertise of the staff and board can fit in both and often gets addressed in both. If there is some way to be more specific about the artistic expertise fitting in question one and the organizational expertise fitting in question two, that I think would make reading the applications easier.
Thank you for that. All right.
Just want to add that you sent that sheet out about the 990s, but many of these in our group were the short form. So the number line was different.
Oh,
And the first time it kind of threw me off, and I thought, oh, wait, this is a short form. So
Thank
we had
you.
quite a few short forms. I think
Yeah, we
almost
did.
half of them.
Thank you.
So just to
Yeah.
update that.
Do both. Yep. Thank you.
This is a minor thing. When I'm looking at the split screen, and I don't see it now, so maybe it changed once we submitted everything. But when I'm taking the arrow to go to the next one, I couldn't see the name of the organization until I scrolled down. And it seems to me there's a lot of space on the top of that screen where it says reminder, deadline is 3 p.m. Maybe move a little of that up so then we wouldn't have to do two steps.
Dale, I know will be listening to this too. We are in constant communication with Smart Simple, which is our online platform. And so always trying to make things easier, better, more streamlined for everyone on that. So thank you for that, Pat. We'll see what we can do.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, if they
helpful to
could,
know.
yeah, if they could bold, I mean, the applicant name is there in that gray box at the top, at the very bottom of that gray box, but it's easy to overlook. So if that could be, even if that could just be bolded, applicants in the city could just be bolded, that would be helpful.
And I'm betting that you can't do a screen share and show me exactly what that is because it's gone now because you submitted.
No, actually, I could show it to you if you
Would
want.
you please? Thank you. It'd be nice to
I
have that visual.
let's see, where's my screen share? There it is. I think this is it. Can you see my my
Yes,
Smart Simple split screen?
yes,
Can you see my cursor?
yes. So to have
This
that
right
bolded
here, to have this bolded would be very helpful.
or to have
Look,
that all of those ginormous instructions
Yes.
click here since you read it once and you're good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And let me
and see, then when you
unshare.
look on the left side, the Grand Oshkosh is way down there. And I guess that's where I was
That's right.
looking
Yeah.
first.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Would you mind sharing again?
Whoops, I'll do that again.
Didn't notice.
Yep. Got it.
I mean, I can
One-
replay this later,
yeah.
but meh.
No, once again, it's bolded. So here we go. Let's do that. Can you see it now, Karen?
I can.
Are
And
you,
so
okay, so Grand
Just-
Oshkosh is way down here. Organization is way down here.
yeah,
And once again, it's in recessive rather than in than being brought forward.
gotcha. So
well,
it'd be
to be
nice to
moved
see,
up a little.
instead of seeing FY25 2708, it'd be nice to see Oshkosh Opera House or whatever.
Yeah, sure would.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure would.
Alrighty. I have no idea whether that's possible, but it's really great to get that from you. Thank you for screen sharing twice, Jim O'Connell. Appreciate that.
The evolution of like technology and I know when I first started reviewing with Wisconsin Arts Board, it was printing of a lot of paper and so saving trees. I can't say that I have evolved because I have some stuff. I'm still so I apologize for not being conscious of saving trees, but I don't have anything else.
Contessa, as someone who's had the privilege of working with you over that period of time, I can say that you have in fact evolved, as have we all, in a really good way. All right.
I love the double screen, and that was
Yeah.
was very helpful to put my notes and things like that. So
Great. Good. Thank you for that.
Well, I know
Yeah.
one other thing that I
Yeah.
didn't realize. So if I was a non-reader, I tended not to put too many comments, but I would put them on the last page. And then when I went to submit, oh, you have to put comments in. So I'm so glad that I had them on another piece of paper that I could put them in, but I did not know that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
to have the prompt that says, please put something in every box would be helpful.
Okay.
So
What
off process into substantive things.
Yeah.
You asked about stretch programming.
Yes.
One of the trends, and I think my colleagues would agree, that we saw is that people are very cautious with their programming coming back from COVID, and they tended to, except for early music now and the Grand Oshkosh, they tended to have repeated what had done well in the past, and not to venture into new programming territory. But when we talk about stretch, um, Pat, you can join me on this, and Contessa, join me on this with your thoughts as well. But when I think about stretch programming, I think about two things. One is it's tempting for any organization to see the people who come through the door and say, that's our audience, and then to ask them what they want. but there are people who don't come through the door. And it's important to think about the audience in the way that Viterbo did in this discussion, the audience that's not coming through the door, and what would serve them appropriately. So that's one reason to stretch your programming and one way of stretching your programming. The other thing is that events wear out. A special event has a life cycle. I'm going to do my professor thing for a second. Special event has a life cycle, and the life cycle is a bell-shaped curve. I've never heard of this. Oh, my sister went and she said it was good. Wow, I saw it once. I've got to go see it again. Wow, we're going to make this an annual event. This is so terrific. You know, I saw it last year. And I don't think, why are they still doing this? It is so old hat. Why are they? And every event or type of event goes through that life cycle. And if you're not constantly trying to introduce new events, eventually your program's going to wear out and nobody's going to come anymore. You're going to get on the downside of that slope, and it's very difficult to recover once you get there. So, so far from being risking the future of the organization by trying something that your audience isn't ready for, it is risking the future of the audience of the organization not to try something the audience isn't ready for.
So Jim, just to clarify, when you say like special events or events, in this instance, if we're talking about presenting seasons, you're talking about similar work,
genres and art forms.
Genres and art forms, boom.
Yep.
They're not challenging me, they're not bringing me something that I haven't, I mean, they may be bringing me an artist that I haven't seen before, but they're very similar to the kinds of artists that I'm comfortable with and have seen in the past.
Right.
And so when you look for stretch, which you didn't see as much of as you would hope to in a couple of the applications, what would have shown you that's that stretch? It's good to see that they're giving their audience the comfort food that they need during this time, and they're also giving them some new dishes as well. Some, I don't know, I must be hungry, it's lunch. But you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
so can you talk for a minute about that, what that might have looked like for you as a panelist?
Yeah, I'm going to yield the floor to Pat and Contessa, and I'll come in later on that one.
Well, I'm just thinking even about some cultural ethnic groups like Irish dance, you know. I mean, everybody likes to watch that, and they do. And even, I mean, there's like Trinity Irish dancers in Madison, and I look at like Reedsburg. I mean, so they're not that far away. We're only an hour's drive, but why not, even if you brought in something like that? I mean, it wouldn't, and people would love it. They would love it. Or um, uh, Latino dances or salsa, or I don't know, some, I mean, I even suggested look at Dane dances. I mean, what else does the community, they have a beat, they have a, you know, what can get you um, involved in the music or the dance or whatever it is. Um, so yeah, I was hoping to see more of that. I mean, and I don't know if Irish is a thing to start with, but it's, I know it always worked for me.
Contessa, did you have any thoughts on stretch within a presenting season or a performing season? Okay. Jim, you sounded like you had another thought.
Yeah, I agree with I agree. Ethnic diversity is one of the keys in that kind of one of the great possibilities of having a community presenting season is to introduce the community to things that they're not familiar with. And to give them a view of the world that is wider than the one that they came in with, that they stepped through the door with. The other thing is to look around the community and see how the community is changing and figuring out what it is that would serve those folks by asking them, not just by assuming what it is that they would like to see. If you're not familiar with an audience, it's always best to engage them in advance.
So assessing the community and checking in with, hey, we are running a performing arts series. And it would be great to hear your thoughts about what might be interesting on that stage.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fallback, of course, is everybody, every age group continues to love the music that they loved when they were between 15 and 25. Largely the music you loved in high school and the music groups you listened to when you went to high school are the people that you want to listen to for the rest of your life, no matter how hip you think you are. And uh, and that's the reason why tribute bands. That's the reason why when you and I started programming, Pat, ghost bands, the big band touring groups with the original arrangements of Count Basie and Carmen
Glenn Miller.
Lombardo and Glenn Miller, yeah, were so popular. It's the reason why tribute bands for 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s groups now are so popular. Imitations of Billy Joel and Elton John are so popular. That's the comfort music that people have grown up with. It's important to present stuff like that to get them in the door. But once you get them in the door once, you need to give them an idea of what else is going on in the world, because nobody can live in high school forever.
Thank you for talking about Stretch for a little bit. Appreciate that. All right. Other trends, other things you saw. We are at 11:25, which is still quite sooner than I had anticipated we might be, which is great. And I am really happy to continue the discussion for as long as you're up for it. Certainly pulling from your brains anything that you want to make sure we know about this group of applicants, about this process before we take your recommendations to the board. And then again, I'll ask you in a little bit via email in a different way.
I'm concerned about the precarious position of Strollers Theater.
I would second that.
I will tell you this, and it's new information. It's not going to affect your review. I believe the applicant may have misread the number of audience and answered according to their membership instead of the audience that they serve. So when you see the adults served, I believe that I understood that they had sort of misunderstood that question. So their audiences are bigger than you would have read.
But their finances are still precarious.
That is fair.
And the rebrand can go in one of two directions. It can either re-energize them and make them more exciting for their audiences, or it can put them in a situation where somebody says, Who are they? What happened to Strollers? I used to go to Strollers."
Yeah.
So I just want to express my concern, because it's clearly an organization that is focused on making good art well.
And while we're talking, I'm realizing, Bill, I was dealing with some screen stuff, and I did not get a formal. I understood that I heard from you all that you saw what you brought. It reflected that 50 mark that we use to not grant is what in place, and I didn't hear, nor did I explicitly invite you to say, do you want to raise that floor? Is there concerns with those lower scored organizations? And since I didn't hear from you, my sense is that you are content to leave the board's policy of, it's just if you get lower than 50, unless the panel feels very concerned about the other lower scored applicants and says something and discusses it and suggests a different floor, we're good there. And Jim, your body language is telling me, yep, leave the floor at 50.
Yeah, I thought about that. There was the only significant gap in the continuum of numbers was above Strollers. It wasn't a huge gap. Um, and I and so and it was that was still 65. So it seems to me that I wouldn't eliminate them.
I appreciate that formal statement. Pat, sorry about the wonkiness here.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think
Right.
I would agree.
Contessa?
I agree.
Thank you. All right. Taking a step back for a moment in the process and then moving forward. Jim, in bringing up your concern, my sense is that you're interested in having Arts Board staff connect with them more overtly and talking with them about any ways that we might be able to assist as they move through this precarious space.
If that's possible, that would be great.
Okay. All right. Anyone else that jumped out at you as a wow or a I wonder if they've thought about or that kind of thing? I have my guess is your comments will say something like that as as we go through the comment sheets. And yeah, I have a number of notes from your discussion, so thank you. Yeah.
It's interesting because as I see the scores, I think I'm a high scorer. Um, but they still were in like the same order that I ended up with, you know. But but the ones who are thriving and reaching so many people in so many different ways just made me so happy to read um their work and and I want to say there's hope for everybody. You know, use these, go to the presenters network, look at, I mean, I learned so much from WPN when I didn't know anything. And you know, your cohorts, they've been there, done that. So ask them, you know, it's a collaboration.
The cohorts and bringing the cohorts together. Yeah, and connecting in. Thank you. Tessa, any other words for the wise before we hit the road here?
I did not you.
Thanks for your input and your insight. Yeah. Pat, Jim, anything else for the good of the cause?
Just that it's always an honor to be invited into this process from the standpoint of somebody who works with students who are starting their careers. To get this kind of insight into the state of the arts around the state is just uh, it's a privilege and an honor.
And I want to thank you, Jim, for your insight. I mean, obviously with you teaching this and seeing, you know, how you have to bring all these ideas, you were just an asset on the panel. And I thank you too, Contessa, because it
Yeah,
was great.
To all of you.
yeah.
Thank
This was a
you.
fun group to be part of.
All right. Bill, any words for the wise before we hit the road?
Well, again, just to echo what Jim said, it's actually been just a great honor to work with you all, and so thankful again for all that you do, and to be a part of this whole ecosystem of the arts that we all work towards. And so just so thankful for all your efforts today.
Ditto. All right. Thank you to the good applicants and the work that's being done. Happy Friday, everyone. You'll be hearing from me.
Everybody.
All right. Take care. Thank
Thank
you.
you, friends.